All right. Welcome to another podcast, episode 7, Ticket to Gamehendge, the podcast where we discuss the scientific methods and tactics and whatever you want to call it about ways to get your friends and family to love our band Phish. Yes. I do want to give a quick little note for listeners that have been listening. I just want to call out that the music that you hear at the beginning of our podcast is actually written by Dr. K over there.
I don't know about written. I'm not sure about written. I think that's a stretch.
It was played by, recorded by, influenced by, of course, Phish from a Stash, right? From the Jam,
Toronto, from our show that we went to, the last show that we went
to. Yeah, very good. Hopefully, people enjoy that. I like it every time I hear it. Every week when I put these together and I hear that, doo, 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 doo. I like it. It's kind of an earworm that's been stuck in my head. So, as always, plenty of things to talk about today. I want to jump right in because this is a question that I think every Phish fan has and every Phish fan has thought about or contemplated, which is, what is the one song that you would use or play for a potential new fan? And you put a question out there and you kind of went with 3, I guess, sort of options, right?
Yeah.
Let me bring up those options. There was even some pushback on one of your options, your middle of the road option. So you wrote, do you A, go to friendly and familiar like Farmhouse or Bouncing Around the Room, something that's a little bit more of a pop tune, I guess, and easier to break somebody in on? Do you tear the Band-Aid right off and go for Reba or Tweezer? Just like a shot to the head? Or do you pick something in the middle like YEM or Free? And many people went, YEM, middle? What the hell are you talking about? And a lot of really, really good responses. This is a question I've thought about many, 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 many times. And I think I have my 5 or so songs. What's your answer on this? What's the song that you would choose? Or would it depend on the person you're playing it for?
It would depend on the person that I'm playing it for, but I would definitely go middle of the road. I don't think Waste, which is an excellent song, it is not representative. It's not representative of Phish, right? Like, it reminds me. It reminds me of when we went to go see the Dead and Company, and like John Mayer fans showed up. I'm like, what planet are you guys from? Like the teeny boppers were there.
Expecting?
I'm like, you're gonna be disappointed because there's gonna be a lot of music, none of which is gonna sound good to you. And I was right.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. If you were to start them off with, let's just pick a few. If you were to put them on the path of Waste, Farmhouse,
Velvet
Bouncing Around the
Sea.
Room, maybe even Sample in a Jar, those, pop rock tunes, it's going to be a rude awakening when they finally hear a YEM or, Tube or whatever that might be. So middle of the road. Okay. What's the song?
Well, I played YEM for you, right?
Yeah. Or was it just already playing? And I happen to be in the car.
I probably didn't at that time. I didn't give it a lot of thought. I just know that it was like my song that did it for me. So I'm like, well, shit. If it did it for me, then it'd probably do it for other people too.
Yeah, I think the one that always comes to mind for me is Free. And I think it's because it's new yet familiar. I think for me it was the only song I'd ever heard on the radio from Phish when I first started getting into them, and then I got Billy Breeds and that song played. I went, whoa, this is one that I've actually heard before. The only one, but it's different enough. It showcases enough of what the band is capable of, and I don't think I've ever played that song for somebody and they didn't at least think it was good or like it. I will say, I think in an ideal world, I'm playing somebody something on YouTube that they can see, not just the audio.
Yeah,
I think for me that would be important.
I think. Well, I mean, look you engage the senses, right? Like you want more. Like the more stimulation you can put, the more joy you can create. It's better, right? Like,
Yeah, and maybe this is an extreme example, but I think of Turtle in the Clouds. When it debuted on Halloween in 2018, to hear it, great. It's one thing. To see it, right? Bit of an extreme example with the white stage and everything else, and imagining what it'd be like to be there, not knowing what was about to happen. Like that to me would hook me, and I think a bit quicker than just hearing that same song.
It's funny that you bring up that one. I liked that one. The second that I heard it, I'm like, this is such a good song.
Me too. And I had heard it before I was even aware of Cosmot, however you say it. I remember seeing the album in Apple Music and going, okay, just thinking it was another album, not really knowing the whole history and the story behind it.
Right.
And it was really born out of Curveball getting canceled. Without Curveball getting canceled, that event doesn't happen. And it was crazy that it was solely based off of I forget the name of the guy, but he could turn the stage white. Like that was the premise that was proposed. So wait a second, we leave and 15 minutes later we come back and it's white. Okay,
now we're a Finnish prog rock band.
Yeah, incredible. But so I think for me, the visual, seeing them on stage, interacting, the lights that go along with it, because we've discussed at length that it's a live band. To really, really get a true appreciation, I think you need to kind of get an idea of what's going on in the atmosphere, what the crowd is doing, how they're reacting, the glow sticks flying in the air, all that stuff that I think kind of makes it up.
Of course.
But then is that too much? Is that too much for some people? I wonder.
Not my kind of people.
Fair enough.
Right?
Get up. Jump in or jump out.
Well, here's the thing, dude. Look at it this way. Okay, so we're gonna see Phish. Phish is coming, right? All this BS is over, and Phish is coming to Toronto. Now we're gonna take a group of people. I can guarantee you can name more people that you would never invite in a second than you can for people. And not to say like they're not your buddies and they're not cool, but you're like, never. I want to have a good time at this show, so I'm not bringing so-and-so because they're not going to have fun.
Yeah, I agree. You really have to be choosy. You really do.
Of course. That's okay.
I agree. You got a great response by a guy who wrote a novel. It's an epic novel.
You gave it a lot of thought, man.
A lot of thought. I mean, I know how I write things. That's like the way it's structured. It's like a university paper. This person spent time on this post, but they really did a great job of digging into the Bonnaroo set from last year, 6/16/2019. And obviously with Bonnaroo being a festival, a very big cross section of music fans, a whole whack of a gallimaufry, if you will, of different music tastes. And really, really interesting how sort of putting themselves in Phish's mindset about how they would craft that show. But then in the end, it seems like Phish is just doing what they're doing, right? And hoping people will just come along, or maybe not even hoping, doing it for the sake of doing it. They kind of hypothesize about why they're at Bonnaroo and what kind of compromises the organizers at Bonnaroo had to make to give them a closing set. Which I think is strange considering the guys that run Bonnaroo worked for Phish creating those festivals back in the 90s. So I'm sure it was just they'll take Phish any year they can get them. But I thought that was sort of funny. But some really, really good detail. What were your thoughts on that? I'm just going to kind of scan through here while you talk and see if there's something worth pulling out.
So, I mean, listen, I think I kind of phrased it in a question back. Like, I think from what I've heard in interviews, like they're open about like they want fans. They wouldn't mind being a popular band, right? Like if I get to do what I want, I think the issue of quote selling out in music has everything to do with you're not yourself. You create shit to try to be popular, right? Like if you can just do something and you're popular, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So I mean. I think Phish is just being Phish. I don't think they gave it any other thought. I don't, they're probably at a stage in their career where they don't need any more fans. So like, it's just fun. Like, hey, let's go out and play whatever the hell we want to play. And then whatever happens, happens. And like, if we play Reba and nobody jumps around, then we'll, what's wrong with your ears, man? Because Reba's a great song. That's what I think.
Yeah. There's definitely that sense of, fuck it, we're just going to do whatever we want to do. And that's been going on a long time. I think that's really been
since day one
there from the get-go. But even so with the set list in the past like 10 years, they openly admit at 3.0, there's virtually no set list. I think there's a review prior to the show about what was played last time they were in that venue to make sure they're not doing repeats night over night because you just don't hear that. But yeah, they play what they want to play. But I will say, when you listen to those festival shows, and I listened to both from 2009, we talked about last week, there are a little bit more, I don't know if I would call them risks, but there's less risks that are taken at those shows. You don't hear as much of the type 2. You hear more what I would consider to be like, if you were to take the 200-300 songs that they have and put them into like the top 50, a lot of the songs from that top 50 get played in those shows. So I think there is a little bit of an element of playing something that maybe isn't as out there or different, but they leave it for set two when things get rolling. They know when to drop it in. Have you ever listened to a show and you just go, that's an odd choice to put in there? Does something ever catch you off guard? Like a song that comes in and you're like, ugh, that's interesting.
No,
I haven't. I'm just curious if you have.
Ugh is not a emotion. I'm just typically excited. So there's a couple songs that it doesn't strike me as an odd choice. It's just there's a couple songs that I'm not initially super pumped to hear.
Okay.
And then like it ends and I'm like, shit, that was awesome. Like that happens every time. Yeah.
I agree. Even with the songs that we discussed last week as bathroom break songs. It's funny. Somebody put a post out there that was sort of similar, but they worded it a little bit differently and didn't draw nearly the hate that I did. And it was, what are your favorite unpopular songs? And I thought, that's an interesting way of putting it. And then people put in Prince Caspian, right? Because I guess it's the unpopular one. I did want to know too. So as you know, I've been going back through 2009. What show was that? Was just listening to the first YEM since Bonnaroo when they had skipped the vocal jam, went into Wilson and came back. I want to say it was June 21st. No, June 20th. Totally no vocal jam. Skipped it.
Wow.
Just didn't do it. Yeah. And I still don't know how I feel about that because it feels incomplete. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up too is last week.
Do you get grumpy when they don't whistle at the end of Reba?
Grumpy?
Yeah. Does it feel
no? But I'm trying to think of how many times I've heard a Reba without the whistling at the end.
Many times. Does it feel incomplete?
Not to me. I mean, I'm sitting here going, didn't even now. But that's one of those things I'm going to key in on every time now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a time where they didn't play it. Just to sort of wrap this up before we jump topics a little bit, we've been talking about the moment that makes.
I gotta justify why YEM's middle of the road.
Okay, go. Yeah.
So
why is it? Yeah. So that was one of the things that's in your post. You got a lot of pushback about YEM being middle of the road. It's their most played song, right? When you look at all the stats, they play that song more than anything else live. So clearly the band loves it. I think they feel it's somewhat representative of, like, if you were to take one song to represent Phish, it's probably that, maybe Divided Sky, maybe Curtain Width, but it's probably YEM. So why is it middle of the road and not rip the Band-Aid right off and get into it?
So I justified my answer in text. It's middle of the road because, parts of the progression are familiar to the ear. There's beautiful, like, really melodic parts. I mean, the first break is like literally it goes, C to G to G to C6. Like it's familiar, like listening.
Okay.
Right. The jam is a G minor 7 to a C7, so it's bluesy, and Trey plays the pentatonic scale, which is the blues scale pretty much, right? So it's not like it's sounds that we haven't heard before. Right, so like when you hear Reba's a jam in the Lydian mode. It sounds like weird and spacey. I love it, but to somebody who's not used to hearing that, it's not going to sound awesome, right? It might sound like really weird, right? Like Frank Zappa's been using that mode for years. So like when I first heard it, I was like, oh my god, this sounds like Frank Zappa. It's awesome. But
it's funny, Frank Zappa's been dead for years, but okay.
Before Phish, buddy. But like YEM just has really musical, really accessible parts to it. So much so that I would classify it as not only like for me, it is the quintessential Phish song.
Yeah,
I agree with that. If you have to sum up the band, and here's why it's quintessential. It's quintessential because there's beautiful parts to it. There's weird parts to it. There's rockin' parts to it. There's this weird vocal jam. Like it encompasses everything. Right, which makes it middle of the road. Like there's listenable parts to it.
Yeah, and historically, when it's played live, the trampolines come out, and there's an even a different live element to it that 100%. You don't get from other bands and other shows.
Trey's dancing sometimes when Mike plays the little bass part. Right before the vocal jam, Trey does like this, like it looks like Shaggy from Scooby Doo type dancing sometimes.
Trey's dancing, oh boy, it's funny.
Just saying,
it's good. the thing I was going to say just before that, around the topic of when did a song click for you? Remember, we've spoken about songs we didn't necessarily love or like, and then grew into loving them. So there was a time, believe it or not, and you're aware of this, where I didn't really like the song "Tube," which is crazy, which is sort of crazy to think now. But now it's one that I love.
That's amazing.
I got to find what show it's from, but I'm 99% sure it was a tour opener from early 3.0 where they're about to start and they're doing that. I'm not sure what I would call it. I'm not a guitar guy, but you know, the start of Punch You in the Eye where he's sort of muting the strings like, you know, and then it's about to hit into Punch You in the Eye. He does that, but it starts in the tube. It was a Punch You in the Eye fake into tube. And that was the thing that grabbed me because it caught me by surprise. I was, you know, like immediately into it. And from then on, I've just listened to tube in a different way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's just one of those songs. Like I kind of got grumpy when you told me that. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't like this song?
Yeah. Maybe it was some peer pressure that forced me to like it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So yeah, I think we'll keep talking about that. I think there's a lot of other songs. And I guess we didn't necessarily come up with an answer, but I think mine would be Free. Limb by Limb is another one that I think could break people in. I like Sample on a Jar. Even Axela is a nice hard hitting rock song that might attract some people. But YEM I think has to be in there too. Maybe that's the second song if Free is the first for me.
Again, I think you have to. For me, it's more like I would look at the person and what they listen to, and then you know. But yes, I mean, yes, I think I would be reaching for those most often.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Dinner and a Movie. We had 22 episodes since it went live back in.
Which is that's crazy.
Amazing.
That been that many, man.
Was it April? I want to say it was April when that all started, right?
I think so.
And it's not completely gone, which is great. Not entirely sure about frequency, but the next one is on the last day of the month, September the 30th, which is really, really exciting. No announcements on what it is yet. I wanted to get an idea from the world out there about what people thought of it and which episodes were their favorite. And not a lot of surprises there. The 1.0 shows completely dominated. Of the 22 shows, I don't have exact stats. I was looking for a nice little episode list and all that stuff. Tough to find. Might have to make one, but if I ever have time for that. But yeah, I would say of the 22 shows, I want to say 14 or 15 of them were 3.0. And I think there was only one 2.0 show in there, or was there?
I don't think there was any 2.0 shows. There's nothing.
Yeah,
2000 and 2004. Yeah. So my first question, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I'm assuming that they don't have all of the 1.0 shows archived.
Probably.
Like, I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that because I have no idea.
Yeah, and I think only the guys in the inner sanctum would know that. I mean, you in terms of video, definitely audio, right? That's there. That's archived somewhere because they're putting new shows out on.
Oh, I'm sure they
have
the app all the time. I'm sure they have every note played archived.
But in terms of video and the full production and all that other stuff, probably not, right? As evidenced by the show that was shot by Renee with the fisheye lens right up close. That was in a lot of top threes, and I think it's it's Avant-Garde. That's a diehard Phish fan that maybe was at that show or going to a lot of shows in the 90s in the 1.0 days. But the overwhelming favorite was the Gamehendge episode. No surprise there. And it should be, right? It's really what gave the band some of its early lore. Virginia Beach from 97. Both of those were in my top three. I love that show from 97. Black Eyed, or was it Black Eyed Katie? What was Moma Dance before? Was Black Eyed Katie
or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's in there. Some really, really good jams on that. Couple of 3.0 posts. Somebody loved the Magna Ball show, 12, 29, 2018, and then we had a couple of Baker's Dozen shows in there, which were awesome.
Dude,
that Magna Ball,
Virginia, that Magna Ball, that tweezer into Caspian was just awesome.
Yeah, I love the festivals. Man, I want to go to one. I want to get into a time machine and go back to one, but not know the set list if that's possible. But yeah, 1.0 dominated completely. Not nearly as many replies on this one. I think that pissed a lot of people off the week prior, so I have to change it up a little bit. We got a lot of hate from the bathroom break songs, but whatever. What are you gonna do? So it's sort of interesting because I think as one door closes, it seems as though another one opens. Yesterday, it was announced that Trey is going to be doing a Friday night residency for 8 weeks at the Beacon Theater. Not a lot announced other than that. What are your thoughts and early impressions on what we can expect from that?
I have
Or what are
no
you hoping
idea.
for?
I don't even know if it's real. It almost seems contradictory
Mhm.
to what he stated himself, right? That he wants to
Yeah.
play to an actual live audience. So I'm not holding my breath
Hmm.
on this one at all.
So you wonder, yeah. I mean, I had a lot of thoughts when I read that post. If it's going to be just him up on a stage in an empty theater with basic people in the background running the tech, is he going to have any players with them? Are there going to be socially distant people in the crowd?
It just doesn't
All
sound
remains to be
it
seen.
doesn't sound like an environment fit for something that people who would like Phish would want to be a part of. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Explain. Like, what do you mean? Like, you don't think
It's about
like?
being together and sharing in music. And now what? You're gonna
Mhm.
sit people like you have to sit down and you have to be 6 feet apart and
Mhm.
you
Okay, the
can't
live
breathe.
experience.
Like it's just ridiculous. It doesn't sound like an awesome experience. It sounds like kind of torture.
Hmm. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, you're probably right about that. The post reads, Trey Anastasio, the Beacon jams. In an unprecedented move, the Madison Square Garden Entertainment will hand Trey Anastasio the keys to the Beacon Theater from October 9th until December the 8th. For 8 consecutive Fridays, Trey will perform a series of free live concerts for multi-channel online distribution. The concerts will feature both acoustic and electric performances. Net proceeds will be donated to a new fund with Phish's Water Wheel Foundation that will focus on delivering therapeutic and compassionate treatment to those affected by addiction. Fans will also be encouraged to donate through the series. And then it talks about some of Trey's first time achievements this year, first person to perform on a late night talk show and all that other jazz. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what's to come with that. But if it is real,
I'm sure
here's
it's
another one.
dude, I'm sure it's real, man. Like I'm thinking about it and I'm like, man, I kind of sound like a cynical asshole, but like I'm pretty sure it's real.
Well, there's just another post underneath it that has different dates. So it has different dates and the capital jams. I don't know. So we'll wait and see on that. If there is new stuff coming, if it's him, if there's going to be guests from Phish that'll be sitting in, if there's a Friday night is the day before Halloween on October the 30th, who knows? I mean, if anything, it might get people excited and hopefully something
Hey, do you
new is
think
on its
do you
way.
think that dinner and a movie on Halloween will be a Halloween show?
Hmm. Well, the Captain Obvious in me wants to say yes,
Imagine
but
if they
I've been
imagine
hoping
if they
all
imagine
year. I go ahead.
imagine if
Sorry.
they did the one where they did the White Album. How awesome that would be.
Yeah, that'd be great. All pretty much since the pandemic started, and we knew there wasn't going to be a tour. And it's funny to think back to all the fun things we were saying back in March and April about when this is over in a couple months, and then here we are in September. But all along, knowing that the tour was going to be canceled, I was holding out hope for maybe a fall tour if things got better. They didn't. And then I thought, okay, could they do something unique for Halloween? Could they put something together? Maybe it's a direct online concert with just them in the barn. I don't know, but I've been hoping out for something for Halloween for months, because I think that could be a big event. It'd be awesome.
Keep hoping, homeboy. If we get anything from them, I'm gonna call that it's going to be a studio new music.
Think so?
Yeah,
New music or newly recorded music?
new music. New music.
You think
I
so?
wouldn't be surprised if they were, because I bet you. Well, I mean, look at Trey put out an album. Mike put out an album. Like they're practicing. They're working hard.
Yeah, and if this Beacon thing is true, the call to perform and connect with an audience in some way is clearly there. I mean, you can't be doing that as a career for 30 plus years and then just all of a sudden give it up and stop performing.
Sure.
I can't imagine that's something that you'd want to do. Yeah.
I agree.
Who's that that just popped in the room there?
Rachelle.
We have a visitor?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, Rachelle. Awesome.
You want to come say hi? Come say hi.
I didn't know if you guys were recording.
We are recording.
We are recording. Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Rachelle's gonna be our first guest.
Okay, I got a question for you, Rachelle.
Shoot.
The last Phish song that you listened to is now your first name. How does it change the rest of your life?
Curtain. My name is Curtain. Curtain without.
Okay.
Curtain without.
That's a good one.
Right?
That's a good one.
I just
Love
heard,
that song.
like, Curtain without going into Waste from 1999, and I was like, this is the best ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love the Curtain. I love when Paige does his little organ that
Yeah,
or
I
I can't
was
even
just
know,
like-
and it just goes.
I was just
That
saying,
sends me to another place.
right?
The best.
I'm like, Paige is going crazy on this song. But I say that about every
Yeah.
song. I'm like, he's going crazy on the piano.
He goes crazy on every song.
He's a master. It's nuts.
That's the best. Like we were talking about Paige a few weeks ago. I'm all about Paige side, Rage side.
Me
I
too.
was never a Paige fan. Not necessarily. I wasn't. I just didn't pay attention. I
Yeah.
guess I would say. And now it's that's who I key in on more than anything.
Me too. I
She's the
feel like
best.
being able to watch the shows, like
Mhm.
like when they zoom in on his hands and like how he's moving, I feel like that just
Mhm.
like amplifies how like amazing he is. Like
Yeah,
sometimes
and he's
going one
and he's
hand
watching
over
the
here,
crowd.
one hand over here, and like the foot on the pedals, and I'm like, what is he doing?
And he's watching the crowd and like
Yeah.
connecting with people and nodding along at the same time. I mean, it's
It's
he looks like a
insane.
magician when he starts playing those things.
Yeah, I'm like, is he like Mozart? Like, what is he doing? Like, it's so crazy.
I wonder. So I have a question. I wonder if we could figure this out. I wonder if the guy that does the video editing cuts to the specific musician that's playing a part that he likes in the song during when he cuts to them. Because every time they show Fishman, I know like all the lines are awesome, but he's always playing something awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be that. I mean, I think of Kuroda on his lights. He knows that nobody's more in tune with the music that's not in the band than he is.
For sure.
You know, he's totally insane. I gotta believe their video guys are the same level.
Yeah.
They're in front of a screen with all the different angles, and they're seeing it all happening, right? And they know where the song is going, what parts are coming up, just like a director of a football game or an awards show. They see it all, and I think so, because the quality of the production, considering it's done live on the fly, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's amazing.
It is so good.
I'd be screwing up left, right, and center. I'd be
Yeah, me
showing
too.
shots of some idiot in the crowd.
I
when
just
there's
wanna
a
hear the
bass
music.
solo going.
So
Yeah.
what was your name if the last Phish song you listened to?
You're the first person I've asked that question to.
Really?
I thought of that
Oh,
question the
Rochelle
other day.
nailed it too. You're lucky you sent me that message yesterday because Rochelle was like, "Oh my god, this song is crazy." My last one would be what did I hear yesterday?
Oh, mine would be a good one.
What's yours?
Mine's Piper. That's like a
Yes!
real name.
That is a
Like
real
Such a
name.
cool name.
Yeah.
Like if I
Yeah.
had another
Anyone
child,
who's
I
listened
would
to
name
Brian
it
and
Piper.
Robert recently, or Susie Greenberg or Reba,
Yeah.
easy question answer. But if you listen to, I don't know, First Tube recently, I don't know. I'll bet
Mike's
you
song.
like
No,
that
you know
song.
what? You know what mine would be? I'm looking at it right now. Funky bitch.
Amazing. That's perfect.
I think I'm gonna float that one out there and see what
Good.
people respond
That's a
to.
good one.
Bye guys. See ya.
Yeah. See ya. Good seeing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my next. Maybe I'll deviate from the top three for a minute and put that one out there. I was thinking about that
gain some
the other day.
friends.
Yeah. I got to gain some supporters, but that's okay. It's a long haul. We're playing the long game here. All right, man. I think that's everything we have for this week. Do you have anything else?
No, we're good. We're good. Hopefully.
Is there anything? I'll ask you this: is there anything that like I'm going through 2009, right? Like I'm going in order. I'm up to June 21st, but I don't mind deviating. Is there anything that's worth noting that you can point out that maybe I should make a pit stop for and go back and listen to, or go ahead and listen to? I might go back and listen to that Magna Ball show that you were just talking about.
2015.
Yeah,
It's a good year, man.
yeah, it's all good. Like
It
I
is all
almost hate to be that guy that's like, oh, it's all good. It's so amazing.
Well,
but
that was my response, right? Like my response to what your favorite show was. Honest to God, every week I'm like,
doesn't matter.
this is the best show ever. And then
Yeah.
I just told Adam 2017. I just finished telling him, I'm like, that 2017 second set is like
The best.
like so much
Awesome.
so that you were like when they play Gamehendge, you remember it, right? So there's shows like that where you're just like, okay, this is crazy. But I guess those are just people's responses, right, to those shows where they've had that like experience.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm gonna go back and check out Magna Ball for sure.
Do it.
All right, pal. Good week.
Yeah, talk
Have a
soon.
good one. See you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye. I don't know, I'm not really sure why. Oh, here we go.